It's possible to mediate evil, but it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of knowledge and insight by the mediator in working with people, because evil is extremely difficult, especially when it involves violence and war. There are people who don't think they will benefit from peace. There are people who believe that their power is best derived from chaos and violence. Typically, those people don't have any other tools other than the violence. It's what they learned, it's what they grew up with, it's what they use to maintain their power. A skillful mediator can look at that and help these people engage in a conversation that teaches them about what their real interests, needs, goals, and desires are, so that they can see that violence is only one tool for achieving the well-meaning, well-being in life that they're seeking. So what's really interesting is that violence takes a huge amount of energy. It takes a huge amount of effort. It takes a huge amount of resources, and it becomes all-consuming. And what's amazing as a mediator is when you can teach people that there are other tools, there are other ways that use less energy, less violence, less anxiety, and they can get even more than what they're seeking. Elusive Peace is going to show you that human conflict, whether it's in the home, in the community, in the nation, or across nations, is exactly the same. The human brain processes peace and conflict identically around the world, regardless of culture. So what Elusive Peace will show you is how mediators can use the knowledge of human biophysiology to help bring peace to the table. The peacemaking skills that I'm talking about are even more applicable, more relevant, and more important at the international level. At the international level, we see identity conflict, we see conflict over resources, we see conflict over power, the same kind of problems that we see at the interpersonal level. Mediation is a powerful tool and a powerful skill when properly applied that can bring the most intractable, hateful people together and help them forge peace where they thought peace would be impossible.
One of the more perplexing problems in the business world is workplace diversity. On the one hand, we like working with people that are like ourselves. On the other hand, when we encounter someone who is different because of ethnicity, gender, or national origin, we naturally tend to discriminate against them until we get to know them better. Likewise, we have mixed and contrary attitudes towards sex. Attraction at work is part of our biology, but using power to sexually coerce, intimidate, or harass is wrong. The traditional solution is to crush all of the things that make us uniquely human. In effect, businesses tell their employees, check your values, your background, your beliefs, and your biology at the door. That repression is like squeezing a water balloon. It will allow itself to be squeezed for a while, but eventually it will leave you with a big mess. Ironically, the more businesses try to control values, beliefs, and attitudes, the more conflict they create. The unintended consequence of stopping conflict by prohibiting expression of values is to create even more conflict and lawsuits. Sex, politics, and religion at the office, the new competitive advantage, shows how embracing what makes us human actually creates a powerful environment where crucial business problems can be solved faster and more creatively, where recruitment and retention becomes easy, where dealing with abuse of power, ignorance, and uncontrolled impulse is thoughtfully executed to create openness rather than repression. In 2010, with fellow mediator Laurel Coffer, I had the opportunity to test my ideas about peace in one of the most challenging environments imaginable. We had been invited by Susan Russo, an inmate at Valley State Prison for Women in Chowchilla, California, to train and teach peacemaking. Susan, serving a life sentence without possibility of parole, and other long-term and life inmates were tired of the prison violence. They wanted their community to be peaceful. They wanted a prison of peace.
Being a lifer, it's difficult. It's not easy. So, this not only was going to benefit me, but it was going to benefit the community.
During the year, we trained and certified 70 long-term and life inmates as peacemakers. Each inmate attended 8 weeks of formal training in listening, problem-solving, and peace process skills, and each conducted at least 5 peace circles within the prison. These women received formal mediation training, and each conducted more peace circles and mediated conflicts among inmates. Today, we are training and supervising 15 women who are becoming peacemaker trainers. They will have trained over 200 women as peacemakers in 2011. We continue to conduct the mediator training and will eventually turn that training over to our trainers as well. The results have been dramatic. The prison authorities report that the prison is much quieter, violence has been reduced, women are mediating disputes and conflicts before they escalate, and that the prison is truly becoming a prison of peace.
I changed due to this program because I can put two hostile people together that I don't know and work my way through letting them solve their own issues and making them the strength and the power that's there, so that gives me strength to survive here every day, as well as giving me a new skill upon release of here that I could go do this for as a real job.
And our criminal system is based on the idea of vengeance. So what is vengeance? Well, it turns out that vengeance in the brain is a very interesting phenomenon. When we have feelings of injustice, we get a dopamine release, and it's called anticipatory pleasure because of a dopamine release when we anticipate the idea of punishing another person to rectify the injustice. So what that means is, in our imagination, in our brains, as we're thinking about how we're going to right the wrong, we actually get pleasure out of thinking about how we're going to hurt the other guy. But what happens is, when we actually get to the point where the punishment is being incurred, there is zero dopamine release. And so vengeance is all about the anticipation of righting the wrong. And what happens is that when we actually exact the punishment, we feel depressed because we've been anticipating and anticipating and anticipating and feeling pleasure, anticipating this, and now all of a sudden the act of vengeance occurs, and now we feel nothing. We feel completely flat. And you see this all the time. So the problem is, in mediation and in any other conflict where there is this strong need for retribution, is helping people recognize that what the vengeance they feel is the anticipation is giving them pleasure, not the actual execution of the vengeance itself. Time and time and time again, that our ability to give pain is so sensitive compared, is so insensitive compared to our ability to receive pain, that we almost always overpunish. We almost always overpunish. And then you couple that with a vengeance problem, and you can see how human beings get into these huge retributive cycles that either cause craziness in our legal system, or war, violence, ethnic cleansing, stuff like that. It's the same process, the same punishment process. So when you're mediating, again, that's the job. Our job as mediators is to break the cycle. We break the cycle by asking questions, penetrating the emotions, affect labeling, testing underlying assumptions, looking for the common fundamental stuff underneath, asking people about what it is to give pain. How do you know that you're giving an exact amount of pain? It's amazing when you ask people, they'll try to come up with answers, and so you really don't know how much pain you're really giving, are you? Well, no, I don't, if you get them to be honest. And that's a huge eye-opening experience for a lot of people. Well, what do? I feel this deep injustice. Yes, you feel this deep injustice. We need to work with that. But giving pain to the other person is not the way to rectify the injustice. And then that, of course, turns around to the conversation around and about forgiveness. The business we call mediation expands and grows and matures. We're going to be called on to do a lot more difficult work than just mediating a litigated dispute. You know, caucus-based mediation of litigated disputes is really pretty easy, relatively speaking. And I think we have a higher calling than that. And I think we can do a lot more with it, but it's going to call on a lot more inside of us to do that kind of work. And that's where I think we're going, and that's why I come to Texas, to teach you and push you and motivate you to go to that higher calling so that we really can find peace in our lifetimes. And that's my great motivation. And I hope that all of you will join me on the journey, and together we can turn Texas and the United States and the world into a better place to live for our children and grandchildren. So thank you very much.